Content Advisory Warning. Dear readers, please be advised that this article is not for the faint of heart. Besides being extremely long, this article makes use of elements such as blood, severe violence, death, and mild offensive language. Stay safe. Best regards, Kai and Boy. Meg Records, the Meg Classified Database. Entity number 257, the Sun over the Void. Security notice. Our servers detected that you accessed this page from a public site. This document is classified. Access is strictly prohibited without the appropriate security credentials. Reading or distributing the contents of this document without authorization is a chargeable offense. If you have inadvertently gained access to this document, please contact any member of the Meg Data Computing Division for assistance. Thank you. This message has been generated automatically by the Meg internal database. Entity number 257, the Sun over the Void. Concord Entity Classification System. Entity ID 257/Sigma. Habitats Megaflora. Note, sea level 227. Indexed Entity Threat Score. Danger 4. Intelligence A. Class Enigmatic. Properties reality altering, unique, aggressive, radiological hazard, neurological hazard, and pyrological hazard. Security clearance. Classified. Security protocol. The information within this document shall be withheld from any and all Meg documentation, correspondence, and personnel with security clearance restricted or lower. The Sun over the Void shall be referred to exclusively by the designation Entity Sigma in all unavoidable documentation/correspondence without such clearance. Security justification. This document is a compilation of all findings from Meg Project Sigma-257. The project was established to conduct research into the Sun over the Void, until its recent termination by Emergency Directive Sigma-257-9. This document remains confidential to avoid unnecessary public interest in Entity Sigma and prevent mass hysteria. The entity possesses cataclysmic destructive capabilities, as well as a poorly understood liminospatial link to Level 11, the city that never sleeps, and the Perdition Exclusion Zone. Should Wanderers encounter the entity, knowledge of its true nature greatly increases the risk of provocation. This file will not be released to public view unless the entity becomes an immediate threat to the wider populace. Part 1. Description. Image caption. Photograph of the entity taken by drone Vega 7 from Megaflora's roots. The entity known as the Sun over the Void takes the form of a sentient white star, around which the eponymous tree Megaflora orbits at approximately 2 billion miles. In addition to visible light, the Sun emits a constant barrage of lethal electromagnetic waves, termed sigma radiation. It is this which gives sunlight on Megaflora its characteristically deadly quality. Direct exposure to sigma radiation is known to flash burn and/or melt flesh, machinery, and any other form of matter not native to the level itself. The Sun harbors a mind with intellect bordering on omniscience, and a blistering malevolence beyond human understanding. Communication with this entity is to be avoided at all costs. Part 2. Astronomy. Footnote. Due to the immense difficulties involved in describing the biological characteristics of a sentient star, the quote-unquote biology section of this report has been fittingly replaced with the section quote-unquote astronomy. End footnote. While astronomical data of the Sun may interest research personnel, they are not the focus of this report. They may be summarized as such. Stellar specifications. Star type. Dwarf. Main sequence. Spectral type, or MK class. A8V ellipses. Radius. 1.11 times 10 to the power of 6 kilometers, or 6.9 times 10 to the power of 5 miles. BV color index 0.20, white. Satellite orbital data, Megafloran tree. Orbit type, tidally locked. Orbit distance, 3.2 times 10 to the power of 9 kilometers, 2.0 times 10 to the power of 9 miles. Apparent size, 0.12 sol. Footnote, From this distance, the entity, as viewed from Megaflora, appears approximately 12% of the size of the front room's sun, as viewed from Earth. End footnote. Unlike Megaflora's tree, the gravitational field of the sun does not display extranormal properties. Gravitational readings from drones sent into the void accord naturally with modern physics, being consistent with the expected readings for a star of such size and distance. This is useful for precise calculations needed in drone expeditions across the void. The entity's chemical/biological composition is unknown, though it is thought to consist primarily of a dense plasma of gaseous hydrogen and helium, as with any ordinary star. Complete spectroscopic analysis remains a challenge due to the aggressively destructive nature of the sun's radiation. Notably, no other stars have been observed within the void space of level 227. Part 2.1 Sigma Radiation. Image caption: an experimental exploration suit after exposure to Sigma radiation. The material instantly caught fire and disintegrated. Research has indicated that the sun produces massive quantities of radiation at extraordinarily high frequencies. MEG researchers have given this range of frequencies the term Sigma radiation, from which the entity's present designation is derived. More precisely, as a form of ultra-high-energy gamma-ray radiation, Sigma radiation consists of frequencies ranging between approximately 7.9 times 10 to the power of 26 Hz to 2.0 times 10 to the power of 32 Hz, i.e., photon energies 3,200 mega-electron volts to 830 peta-electron volts. This far exceeds the frequency range of the highest energy cosmic emissions ever detected in the front rooms. Furthermore, while such emissions have only been detected from Earth in incredibly faint traces, more than 65% of the sun's emissions appear to consist of Sigma radiation. The means by which a single star sustains such a staggering energy output is entirely unknown. Image caption: graph illustrating spectral irradiance, quality of light emitted, over frequency. Not to scale. Photons of Sigma radiation possess sufficient energy to penetrate, irradiate, and ionize even the densest chemical elements. Accordingly, almost all known matter instantly begins to disintegrate under direct sunlight in level 227. This makes Sigma radiation nearly impossible to analyze with sufficient instruments made of regular matter. The light is likewise biologically lethal. Even momentary exposure is enough to instantly kill an adult human being. All MEG experiments to fabricate protective suits failed spectacularly, with every prototype material instantly conflagrating upon exposure. Despite this, all naturally occurring matter found on Megaflora's tree itself appears impervious to the effects of Sigma radiation. While the cause of this remarkable property remains unclear, researchers have hypothesized that, by some unidentified extranormal process, endemic matter absorbs all Sigma radiation received, either storing the energy or discharging it as infrared radiation to produce heat. The tree of Megaflora consequently acts as a quote-unquote radiation shield of some kind, allowing wanderers to travel under its shade with relative safety. This would also account for Megaflora's ability to maintain a habitable surface temperature, despite its small atmosphere and great distance from the sun. Megaflora's organic material cannot withstand the wear and tear of regular movement, especially in a densely forested environment, and are thus unsuitable for hermetically sealed exploration suits. However, MEG researchers have successfully used it to craft radiation-proof coatings for research equipment. This has enabled satellite drones and surveillance cameras to be permanently deployed within level 227, allowing the entity to be monitored and studied remotely. On 10/25/2018, a drone was deployed within Megaflora for the first time. The enclosed experiment log is a fitting demonstration of the power of Sigma radiation. Flight_experiment_01.txt. Report: Drone Flight Experiment 1. Details: Date: 10/25/2018. Location: Level 227, Megaflora. Involved personnel: 1. Supervising: Senior Researcher Toma. 2. Field Agent, Operative Bolt. Equipment: 1 standard issue MEG field kit, comprised of 1 mounted live feed camera, and 1 custom-built detachable de-Euclidator. one exploration drone, Polaris 1. One industrial-grade hydraulic quote-unquote extendable arm machine. Objective. In early 2016, the first example of a quote-unquote stable entry point into level 227, Megaflora, was documented in level 420, the Frozen Lake. Since then, in conjunction with the Backrooms Physicians Cooperative, BPC, the MEG has begun research in earnest into level 227, Megaflora. One area of interest within Megaflora was exploration of the environment above the canopy line. Exploration drone Polaris 1 was developed in an attempt to overcome Sigma radiation, with state-of-the-art radiation-hardened technology gathered from Level 3.1, Space Complex. A field operative would manually deploy and test the drone's resistance to Sigma radiation. Upon success, the drone would be flown as high as physically possible, at which point the de-Euclidator would be activated, allowing it to warp large distances around the sky. The drone's inbuilt camera would be used to survey and map Megaflora's environment. Sensors would return data on humidity, temperature, gravity, and liminal stability. Outcome: failure. Loss of Polaris 1. No casualties. Audio-visual log transcript. Begin log. Bolt. Command, this is Bolt reporting in. No clip from 420, the Frozen Lake, was successful. I've arrived in Megaflora and swapped out my gear. Toma. This is Command, Toma here. Could you turn down your wrist cam? Bolt. Sure thing. The camera flickers to life, revealing the dark, wild forest. Ominous howling and the chirping of insects are audible in the background. Toma. Ugh, can you even see at all in there? Where's your flashlight? Bolt. Right, forgot about that. Bolt flicks his flashlight on, the bright circular beam illuminating his path. Ahead, the leaves of the undergrowth ripple and rustling noises are heard, as some unseen creature scurries out of the light. Toma. Great. Please proceed. Bolt. Affirmative. Bolt treads cautiously through the thickets. Every now and again, he whirls around, tense and ready, as the beam of his flashlight darts towards some noise or movement from the shadows. Each time, the beasts retreat, fleeing in fear from the dazzling glare to which they are unaccustomed. This rhythm continues, unabated, for about an hour. Bolt. Bolt here. Just, checking in. I wanted to ask, any word about the report? Toma. That's still in the works. Some idiot broke the computer that had the files. Bolt. Huh. Who was it? Toma. Awfully chatty today, aren't you? Bolt. Well, I've got to keep myself sane somehow. Have you heard the rumors? Toma. What rumors? Bolt. People hear voices while they're in here. They say that they hear the sun talking. Toma. Auditory hallucinations. The BPC doctors aren't sure, but they say it's probably some chemical from the plants. Bolt. Some people say the sun's alive. Toma. That's nonsense. Now cut the chatter. Bolt remains silent for a few minutes. Nothing is heard but the sound of leaves rustling and sticks snapping underneath his feet, and the chittering of creatures lurking just out of sight. Bolt. By the way, how are Rose and Sada doing on that building project? Toma. Pretty alright. They're surprisingly cooperative. They should be done anytime soon. Bolt. Huh. Last I remember, they literally stormed... Bolt pauses abruptly. He whirls around, his flashlight darting between the trees. The faint beam is visibly trembling. Nothing is there. The forest is silent. Toma. Bolt? Bolt? What's your status? Bolt. Did you hear that? Toma. No? Hear what? Bolt. There was a voice. Like I was telling you, the rumors. Toma. Could you tell where it came from? Bolt. I don't know. It came from everywhere, all around me. It was freaky. Toma. Have you got the almond water on you? Bolt. Yeah. Hold on. He takes a long drink from his canteen. Toma. Ready to proceed? Bolt. Yeah. Okay. Let's go. Bolt continues to walk, now at a more brisk pace. The beam from his flashlight is shakier than before. Nothing of note is heard till about 10 minutes later. Bolt. This is Bolt. I think I found one. Right there, up ahead. Bolt turns his wrist cam towards a blinding patch of light several feet away. He strides quickly towards it, stumbling over the vegetation under his feet. Bolt. Clearing. It looks suitably large. Toma. Proceed. Be careful. Bolt. Sure thing, ma'am. Bolt kneels and unpacks. He retrieves Polaris 1 and the extendable arm from his backpack. Bolt. Ugh, this thing was heavy. Toma. Focus. Get the drone in position. I shouldn't have to mention this, but you did load the fuel before you left? Bolt. Yeah. After some fumbling, Bolt manages to detach the de-Euclidator from the drone to flash it on camera. With some difficulty, he pries open the fuel compartment, revealing several 9-volt batteries crudely wedged inside. Toma. Good. Well, now that that's in order. Kneeling down, Bolt lifts the device high above his head and brings it down in a swift motion, driving the arm's spike firmly into the ground. Next, he attempts to clamp the drone within the claws on the other end of the extendable arm. It takes an unusually long time. Toma. Your fingers are shaking. Bolt. I'm fine. I'm not a coward. Toma. I ask because of the neurological effects. Bolt. Irritably. I said I'm not a pussy. Toma. Sternly. And I am your commanding officer. I will not tolerate insubordination, even from you. Bolt ignores the threat. Diverting his attention to the control panel, he turns the device on. The limp mechanical limb whirs to life, lifting the drone off the ground. Bolt. Adjustments complete. Sending the drone in now. Flicking another switch, the arm gradually begins to extend towards the light. The wrist cam shakes uncomfortably as Bolt fumbles around with the controls. Toma. Status report. Bolt. All good, just finding it a little hard to maneuver this. Bolt stops mid-sentence and frowns. Bolt. Wait, is the drone smoking? Toma. What? Bolt tilts the wrist cam toward the drone. It is visibly smoldering in the light. He turns the camera back towards himself, with an expression of panic on his face. Bolt. Didn't you say that thing was radiation-proof? What do I do? Toma, urgently. Get it back, now! Bolt flips a switch, the arm slowly retracting back to its original place. Toma. Faster! Bolt. Frantic. I can't! This is as fast as it'll go! Bolt watches helplessly as the drone starts to swell, its outer shell bubbling away. As the drone approaches the shade, sparks begin to fly. Toma. Grab it, you fool! Bolt. I can't! It's in the light! Toma. The arm! Grab the arm! Bolt dives for cover as the drone bursts into flames, a shower of sparks and molten shrapnel exploding in all directions. By the time he emerges, thankfully unscathed, all that remains is a patch of liquefied metal, glowing and bubbling under the light, and scattered shards of flaming plastic. Bolt. Oops. There is a brief pause before Toma flies into an abject rage. Toma. That thing took us months to build! Bolt. Calm down. I said I'm sorry. I tried. Toma. You just stood there and watched! Bolt. How is this my fault? There was nothing I could... The rest of the log has been cut due to senior researcher Toma's excessive use of foul language. End log. Result. Image caption. Polaris 1 just after a test flight in level 11, the city that never sleeps. Image caption. Debris from drone after destruction. Image artificially adjusted. Findings. Following the unsuccessful experiment, research personnel managed to develop a protective coating from materials native to megaflora, used in all future drone models. The material also proved useful in allowing remote cameras to be placed above the canopy line. This allowed for direct observation of the entity for the first time, as well as producing dramatic improvement in footage of the void thereafter. Part 2.2. Bubble Portals. Image caption. A photograph of a bubble, taken from a drone on megaflora. The level to which it leads is not known. Note the emanated light beam, as well as the absence of stars in the void. Drone and camera footage of the void has revealed multiple translucent, spherical, quote-unquote, bubbles orbiting the sun at extremely high velocities. It is not known whether these bubbles are components of the entity itself, or exist as separate objects entirely. Surveillance footage over several years indicates that the bubbles seem to be in stable, unchanging orbits, and remain constant in size. The bubbles also appear, quote-unquote, tethered to the sun by focused beams of light. Gravitational data suggests that the bubbles have no measurable gravitational effect at all, suggesting that they are functionally massless. Image caption: illustration of bubble with quote-unquote light beam. Light beam remains tethered to the bubble even when line of sight with the sun is broken. Footage of bubbles has been captured from above the canopy of the main tree body, i.e., quote-unquote underneath the inverted tree out of the sun's light. Interestingly, within such footage, the light beam of any bubble observed continues to remain visible at all times, despite the crown of the tree breaking line of sight between the bubble and the sun. The beam is even observed making contact with the canopy line. Such findings suggest that the light beams proceed from the bubbles towards the entity, and not, as initially believed, the other way around. All documented bubbles have been recorded in the following table. Serial number: 1. Estimated radius: 69,900 kilometers, 43,400 miles. Level depicted: 790, ultimate fate. Serial number: 2. Estimated radius: 31,200 kilometers, 19,400 miles. Level depicted: the gift plane. Serial number: 3. Estimated radius: 54,900 kilometers, 34,100 miles. Level depicted: undocumented. Serial number: 4. Estimated radius: 62,400 kilometers, 38,800 miles. Level depicted: 150. Memory foundry. Serial number: 5. Estimated radius: 42,800 kilometers, 26,600 miles. Level depicted: 998. A path across hell and towards any beyond. Serial number: 6. Estimated radius: 56,200 kilometers, 34,900 miles. Level depicted: 11. The city that never sleeps. Serial number: 7. Estimated radius: 71,100 kilometers, 44,200 miles. Level depicted: if man is still alive. Serial number: 8. Estimated radius: undetermined. Footnote: this bubble has never been directly observed. However, its existence is strongly implied by the circumstances surrounding the Level 9 incident. End footnote. Level depicted: 9. The suburbs. Serial number: 9. Estimated radius: undetermined. Insufficient data. Level depicted: undocumented. Footage also revealed images of other levels extranormally depicted across the bubbles' translucent surfaces. Comparison of months of footage suggested that the image reflected within each bubble never changes. In conjunction with low liminal stability readings, the images strongly led researchers to believe that the bubbles each function as a stable, though nigh impossible to reach, entrance to a single level. On occasion, bubbles 3 and 6, as listed, have been known to pass quite closely, about 110 kilometers/70 miles, over the canopy line. Bubble 6 was eventually chosen as the most viable candidate for approach, given the proximity to a portion of its orbit to Megaflora's canopy line. Initially, drones attempted to reach the bubbles using Object 4, the Euclidators, but this method of approach proved unviable. The use of an entirely unmanned drone-satellite hybrid was later explored instead, with some degree of success. Reports of the drone experiments have been included for reference below. Flight_experiment_02.txt. Report: Drone Flight Experiment 2. Details: Date: 3/8/2019. Location: Level 227, Megaflora. Involved personnel: 1. Supervising: Senior Researcher Toma. 2. Field Agent: Operative Jim Seeley. Equipment: 1 standard issue Meg Forest Expedition Kit, 1 exploration drone, Leo 2, with organic radiation-proof coating, plus 1 mounted live feed camera and 1 integrated detachable deeuclidator attached to it, 1 industrial-grade hydraulic quote-unquote extendable arm machine with radiation-proof coating. Objective: on 2/14/2018, 12/29/2018, and 7/13/2019, surveillance cameras on Megaflora captured strange planetary objects in the sky, presently termed, quote-unquote, bubble portals. The bubbles were caught drifting through these regions over the course of several hours before drifting out of view, obscured once again by the canopy. The presence of such stellar objects, aside from the sun, suggests that a larger celestial space exists above the atmosphere of Megaflora. Given the possibility of a link to Zenith Level 998, a path across Hell and towards any beyond, or the possibility of the existence of a similarly massive space, Meg Command has deemed exploration of this theoretical, quote-unquote, void a worthwhile endeavor. Experimentation with drone flight has thus resumed. Following the failure of drone Polaris 1, the second drone model, Leo 2, was constructed, this time with radiation-proof coating, made of tree resin from Megaflora. Outcome: failure. No casualties. Audio log transcript. Begin log. Operative Jim. Hello? Hello? Anyone there? Is this thing even working? Hello? Senior Researcher Toma. Stop shouting! Jim. Sorry, I'm Operative Jim. I know I'm not too experienced, but I promise I'll try my best. Toma. This is Researcher Toma from Command. Jim. Sounds of rustling paper. Toma, with more than a hint of distaste. Oh, you're that Jim? Toma sounds audibly frustrated already. Jim. Is something wrong? Toma. That does not concern you. Do as you were told. Turn on your wrist cam. Jim. Yeah. Toma. Don't make me wait. I don't have all day. Jim. Yeah, just give me a moment. Ah! A loud thud can be heard, along with the sound of snapping sticks. Toma. Jim? Jim. I, fell over. Sorry, there was something in the bushes, and it kinda freaked me out. Visual is received, revealing the forest dimly lit by Jim's flashlight. There are noticeable cracks in the upper left corner of the feed. Toma. Why are there cracks on the wrist cam? Jim. I think I, cracked the lens. Sorry. Aggressive deep breaths are audible from Toma's end, as she tries not to explode with anger. Jim. At least the camera still works. Toma. Shut up. Just move on and get this over with. Jim. Roger that. Nothing of note happens in the next 83 minutes. Jim continues to trudge through the forest, stumbling through the inhospitable terrain. Much to Toma's frustration, he consistently loses his sense of direction and struggles to read his location tracker, requiring constant help to reorient himself. Jim. Toma? Toma. What now? Jim. Do you hear that? Toma. Hear what? Jim. It sounds like a voice. From the sky. From the light. Toma. Jim. Stay calm. You might be hallucinating. Jim. What? No. Responding to some unheard noise, Jim begins to sprint wildly through the undergrowth. Toma. Jim, you might be hallucinating. You need to... Jim. No, hell no... Ah! Holy... Jim is violently thrown to the ground. He rolls, colliding into a tree with a loud thud. Jim. Get away from me, you... Toma. Jim? What's happening? Jim can be heard screaming wildly, but the footage is too shaky to make out what is happening. After about 30 seconds, everything goes silent. Toma. Jim? Jim, do you read? Muffled groaning is audible for a few seconds, before Jim gets up from the forest floor. Toma. Report. What's your status? Jim. I'm okay. But I lost the extendable arm. Toma. What? How? Jim. There's this massive plant. It looks like a, Venus flytrap, I think. It almost swallowed me whole, but I pushed it away with the arm. Toma. Loud slamming sound. I told you to be careful! Jim. Listen, I'm really sorry. It was dark, and I couldn't see, and the thing was hidden in the grass. I'll try to cut it down. See if I can... Toma. You had better! I have had it with you! Toma continues her triad in the background, For the next 20 minutes, Jim attempts to dislodge the arm from the flytrap's jaws. When simply pulling on it fails to have the desired effect, he begins to slowly and painfully cut the plant open with his machete. Just as Toma is about to call off the experiment, Jim extricates the object from the flytrap. The arm is soaked in mild jasmonic acid, but is otherwise completely intact. Toma, I am done with your incompetence. Get moving. Jim, yeah. Jim continues walking as Toma attempts to compose herself. Thankfully, he locates the clearing 10 minutes later without further disruption. Jim, hey Toma, I found it. There's a security camera on that bench there, next to this clearing. Can I continue with the procedure? Toma, finally. Get on with it. Jim replicates the procedure from the previous experiment, attaching the drone to the extendable arm and extending it slowly into the bright patch. As the drone makes contact with sunlight, a soft sizzling sound is heard, and smoke is visible from Jim's wrist cam. When the smoke clears, the drone is visible in the light, intact and unscathed. Toma, success. Jim, oh yeah, let's go. Toma, why are you celebrating? Jim, look, we did it. Toma, snapping irritably, our engineers have done it. You have done nothing but screw up since you arrived. Jim makes no reply, but looks visibly uncomfortable. Toma, get on with it. Release the drone and prep for flight. Jim, okay. Jim releases the drone, allowing it to drop onto the ground, and retracts the extendable arm, leaving it to cool in the shade. He grabs the remote controller from his backpack. Jim, everything's in place and ready to go. Toma, copy. Proceed. Time to see what's out there. With a click, the drone's camera feed turns on, and its propellers whir to life. The drone lifts gently off the ground, and begins to rise vertically upward through the hole in the canopy. Jim gazes at the drone feed through the screen on his remote. Jim, 35 feet? We've just cleared the canopy. Soon, the canopy begins to shrink from view. As the temperature rapidly declines, the drone hits cloud cover, obscuring the video feed. Jim, 150 feet. The mist of the clouds is quickly left behind, and the sky rapidly darkens. The drone begins to decelerate, straining to maintain lift in the thinning atmosphere. Jim, 400 feet. The drone is struggling. Toma, interesting. The atmosphere appears to be lower than we anticipated. Increased torque on the rotor. Jim complies, and the drone continues to rise. Each time the drone begins to slow down, he increases the rotor speed by a notch. By about 550 feet, the drone is operating at maximum power, and fails to ascend further. On Jim's remote, a red light begins to flash repeatedly. Jim, it's at maximum height. The batteries are draining. We can't hold this for long. Toma, prime the de-Euclidator. Jim flicks another switch on the remote. Vibrations are visible on the drone's camera as the de-Euclidator mechanically slides into position for remote activation. Jim, de-Euclidator primed. The red light continues to flash, with increased frequency. Toma, ready for warp? Jim, ready. Toma, on my count. 3. The drone begins to wobble as the rotors struggle to maintain top speed. The light continues blinking frantically, warning of imminent failure. Jim holds his breath in trepidation. Toma, 2. Jim's thumb hovers impatiently over the blue button, quivering in anticipation. The light continues to flash. Toma, 1. Jim, let's go! Jim slams his finger on the button with enthusiasm. Nothing happens. Jim, huh? Jim presses the button again. When the de-Euclidator does not activate, he begins to mash the button in frustration. In confusion, his eyes slide over to the screen of the remote. The wrist camera captures his face as his expression changes from confusion to abject horror. Overlaid on top of the drone's feed are 4 words. Error. No fuel inserted. Toma. What? Jim. No, 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 no! Above the canopy, the drone's wobbling ceases as the propellers slow to a stop. The feed flashes and flickers, and the words change, visible for but a brief moment before the screen goes dark. Error. Power failure. On Jim's wrist cam, the drone can be seen soaring downwards through the air, landing in the clearing with a loud crash. Shards of plastic, glass, and metal splatter off upon contact with the ground, spraying themselves across the surroundings like shrapnel. The remnant of the drone's body bounces out of the light, landing at Jim's feet. It sizzles and sparks, the unshielded, broken surfaces smoldering from their momentary exposure to the sun's blistering glare. There is a moment of silence before Toma explodes into another triad of unquenchable fury. Toma, you utter piece of... The rest of the log has been cut, due to senior researcher Toma's excessive use of foul language. End log. Result. Findings. Despite failure to achieve the intended objective, the experiment proved that the organic radiation-proof coating worked efficiently. The recovered drone, Leo 2, will be repaired and upgraded for the next attempt. Regarding the cause of failure, the batteries serving as de-Euclidator fuel had apparently fallen out of the drone following the Venus flytrap attack. When questioned on what caused him to panic and run into the flytrap, Operative Seeley claimed that he, quote, heard a voice from the sky. It said his name and started to scream, freaking him out, end quote. Following the flytrap attack, Jim did not recall hearing the voice again. This could suggest that high levels of adrenaline counteracts the level's hallucinatory effects. Further expeditions into Megaflora will see field operatives equipped with adrenaline shots for experimental use. Senior researcher Toma has been disciplined for unprofessional conduct. She is slated for permanent transfer to an unrelated research assignment, and is receiving therapy for her anger management issues. Addendum. After her breakdown, we've given Toma a full psych eval and transferred her to an unrelated research assignment. I know she's always been a bit testy, but it seems like she's turned into an absolute prick since she started work on Megaflora. Sheesh, no idea what's gotten into her. Anyway, I'll be taking over as head of Void Research now. Hope things get better here on out. Sada. Flight_experiment_03.txt. Report. Drone Flight Experiment 3. Details. Date. 5/12/2019. Location. Level 227. Megaflora. Involved personnel. 1. Supervising. Auxiliary. Footnote. Researcher Sada is not a registered Meg operative. However, due to his comprehensive academic credentials, as well as his excellent scientific consultancy services and prior engagements, he has been granted special authority over research into Megaflora and Entity Sigma. End footnote. Researcher Sada. 2. Field Agent. Operative Jim Seeley. Equipment. 1 standard issue Meg Field Kit. 1 exploration drone, Leo 2, with radiation-proof coating, with 1 mounted live feed camera and 1 integrated detachable de-Euclidator attached to it. 6 additional 9-volt batteries. 3 epinephrine auto-injectors. Objective. Same as previous flight test. Following damage sustained by Leo 2 in the previous experiment, the drone was repaired and fitted with significant upgrades. The updated model boasts improved high-torque electric motors and longer-lasting internal batteries, sourced from Level 480 in Convenience Store. The drone was programmed to land automatically if internal charge decreased below 5%. Extra 9-volt batteries were also stocked for the de-Euclidator. Additionally, EpiPens were provided to test the ability of adrenaline to counteract the neuro-auditory hallucinations produced by the level. Outcome. Catastrophic failure. Audio-visual log transcript. Begin log. Jim. Hello? Operative Jim here. I've arrived in Megaflora. Sada. Hi, Jim. I'm Researcher Sada, and I'll be your supervisor for the time being. Hoping to see great things from you today. Jim. Hope so as well. I'm kinda nervous. It's only my second time here. Jim trails off into mumbling as he fiddles with his location tracker. Jim. The nearest camera looks further today. I've got a long walk ahead. I'm gonna check my equipment first, if that's okay with you, especially after what happened last time. Sada. Sure thing. By the way, turn on your camera. Jim. Yeah, forgot about that. Sorry. Jim turns on the drone's camera and does a full inventory check before he begins walking. Initially, He is as flustered and confused as before. He blunders through the gloom of the trees, often falling face first into the undergrowth. Sada remains patient. He teaches Jim how to read the tracker and points out subtle details hidden within the landscape to help him orient himself. After about an hour, Jim is able to navigate confidently on his own. Jim. Sada? Are you there? Sada. Yeah? Everything all right? Jim. Never mind. It's nothing. There is a pause as Jim stumbles slightly over a bush. His next steps are more careful. Sada. Are you still stressed out about the last experiment? Jim. Yeah. Sada. Don't worry about it. Toma has issues, but I'm sure she means well. And me? I'm just watching out for you. From what I've seen, you're doing good. Jim. Thanks, Sada. That means a lot. People don't usually believe in me. I've screwed up a lot while I've been out in the field, but I really appreciate you teaching me all this nav stuff. Sada. It's no trouble. I'm sure you'll become one of the Meg's best operatives one day. But let's stay focused on the mission, shall we? You should be almost there. Jim's face lights up in the midst of the gloom. Jim. Yeah, I won't disappoint. Jim continues walking for the next half an hour. He reaches the deployment location without further incident. Sada. Command? Checking in. Doing okay, I hope? Jim. Doing great. I've just reached static. Sada. Jim? The signal has been abruptly cut off. Despite Sada's attempts to radio Jim, communications remain offline for a long while. It takes approximately 50 minutes to re-establish audio-visual contact. Sada. Jim, are you there? Jim. I'm back. Jim stares down at the screen. He is seated with his back against a tree, shivering and sweating profusely. His pupils are dilated, and his nose is bleeding. He is hyperventilating, to the point that he appears almost unable to speak. Sada. Jim! Are you okay? What happened? Jim. Yeah, I've never felt better. I feel so much worse. He gave me some EpiPens. He is here. Before I left base, he said they would make me feel better if I was hearing the voice again. He is here. He lied, didn't he? He lied to me. He lied. Sada. I'm sorry. Who did what? Jim. He gave me some shots and now I feel crazy. Hey, do you know that he is furry and he is going to burn down 11? Sada. Jim, you're not making sense. Jim. He told me and I saw it with my own eyes. Everything is on fire right now and I'm so scared. Sada. Jim? Jim begins to laugh, convulsing hysterically and uncontrollably. His eyes, wide and terrified, begin to tear up. His tears stream down and mingle with the blood from his nose. The gross mixture begins to drip onto the wrist cam. Jim attempts to wipe it off, but ends up creating a large, red smudge that cakes the lens of the camera. Sada. Jim, you have to listen to me. You're hallucinating, and you're losing voluntary control of your body. If we don't act soon, you're going to lose your mind as well. Blink if you can still hear me. Jim? Lightning from heaven and it burns! Make it stop! Help me! Jim is barely visible, with a red stain obscuring the lens. Through his tears, he forcefully blinks his eyes several times. Sada heaves an audible sigh of relief. Sada. Okay, Jim. Listen carefully. You're not lost yet. I'm going to help you, but you have to listen to me carefully. Blink twice for yes, once for no, and 3 times if you need me to repeat. Got it? Jim blinks twice. Sada. Did anything physically attack you while we lost contact? Jim. He is angry. He is where he wants to be by choice. Jim blinks once. Sada. Are you seriously injured? Any blood loss besides your nose? Broken bones or anything? Jim. He is coming. He visits. He wants the Dark 9. He wants the power of 150. He wants the death 799. Jim blinks once. Jim. He burns. I burn and he burns. The night is next. He burns. Sada. Are you able to stand? Jim tries to lift himself off the floor and collapses back against the tree. He blinks once. Jim. He is furry. He knows and he hates the light he hates, but he cannot hide. Sada, is your backpack still with you? Jim blinks twice. Sada, are you able to move at all? Jim. Kill. He wants. I need help. Kill, kill, kill. He knows, he sees, and he is angry. Jim blinks twice. He lifts his arm, which continues to tremble violently. Sada. Okay. Jim, I need you to get the almond water. Footnote. Operatives should note that almond water has not been proven to possess healing properties. In studies, the substance has shown only slight effect in hormone regulation and neuroauditory agent, NAA, cancellation. Despite this, it remains in use, as its psychological effectiveness as a placebo has proven remarkably effective. End footnote. From your meg kit. Can you do that for me? Jim shakily lifts his right arm. The camera goes dark for a minute as he reaches into his bag, which is on the ground beside him. He pulls out a blue flask. Sada. Great. Now, drink slowly. Jim. I burn. He burns. I burn. He sees. I see. I am going to. He burns. I will try. Jim lifts the quivering flask to his mouth, spilling much of the almond water in the process. He sputters and coughs, but he manages to ingest some of the liquid. Almost immediately, Jim's breathing slows, and he stops shivering. He continues to heave, taking deep gasps of air in relief between several more gulps of the almond water. Sada. Easy. You feeling any better? Jim. Oh, yeah. Oh man. Thank you. Sada. I'm calling off the experiment. You just sit tight and wait till you phase back out. Jim. No. No, we can't. Sada. What? Jim. We've come so far. We're almost there. I don't want to be a failure. Sada. Jim, you're not a failure. This isn't your fault. Jim. No, but I want to finish this. For the Meg. For humanity. Sada. It's too risky. We need to give you a full psych eval. Jim. I don't know if I'm going to make it back anyway. The sun said I wouldn't. Sada. Those voices were just hallucinations, Jim. We're getting you back alive, and I'm not going to force you to. Jim. No. I'm doing this. For all of us. We're gonna see what's out there. Jim stands up, shaky but determined. He wipes the blood from his face and begins to unpack the drone, ignoring Sada's concerns. Sada. I can't stop you, can I? Jim. Nope. I'm doing this. Sada. Well then, I'll do what I can to help. Jim takes out the drone's controller from his backpack. With the radiation coating proven to work, there is no longer a need for the extendable arm. Without further hesitation, Jim boosts up the drone and flies it into the light. The upgraded drone is faster than before. It soars past the tree canopy effortlessly, and rises through the clouds without a hitch. As the sky begins to darken, the camera struggles to adjust, but the motors hold firm, whirring steadily. At the 650-foot, about 200-meter, mark, resistance abruptly ceases. The drone's propellers continue to spin, but do not seem to be creating any lift. The drone continues ascending, carried by its momentum, as the camera refocuses to bring into view the breathtaking void for the first time. Jim. Whoa. A vast, empty expanse stretches beyond the sprawling branches of the great tree. Devoid of celestial inhabitants, it extends infinitely with an unnatural, unbroken, inky blackness. It is as if the stars in the sky have been snuffed out, and the drone stares at the cold, lifeless husk of a long-dead universe. As the feed continues to pan upward, the sun slowly comes into view. Barely the size of a pinhead, it pierces through the shadows, imposing itself upon the space as its sole crowning glory. It blazes with a ferocious, white-hot light that threatens to sear itself into the camera lens like a firebrand. Reigning unchallenged, it is the lone conqueror of its desolate celestial realm. Sada. This is unexpected. We seem to have bypassed the atmosphere altogether. For what it's worth, I can't say I'm not enjoying the sight. Jim, this was worth it. Seeing this sort of thing is why I joined the Meg. Sada, indeed. Jim and Sada stare in awestruck silence for about a minute as the drone continues to climb in the vacuum. Jim, hey, what's that? It soon becomes apparent that the void is not quite as empty as it first appeared. Jim adjusts the camera to focus in on a large planet-like sphere creeping into the upper right corner of the display. Superimposed on its translucent surface is what appears to be an image of a blue sky with clouds. Superimposed on its translucent surface is what appears to be an image of a blue sky with clouds. A long, luminous tail of laser light follows behind it, stretching back towards the surface of the sun. Sada, that's a bubble portal. It's what we've been looking for, why we sent the drone up there in the first place. Jim, huh, Sada. Well, since we've gotten this far, let's take a closer look. Prime the de-Euclidator. Jim flicks the switch, and the de-Euclidator slides into place. At Sada's instruction, he makes numerous meticulous adjustments till the de-Euclidator is aligned perfectly. The bubble is set in the upper center of its camera, looming over the insignificant speck of a drone like a whale before an amoeba. Jim, it's ready? Sada, yep. Time to warp it and see where it goes, I suppose. Jim, finally, it'll all be over. I can't wait to see the look on everyone's faces when they realize I was the one who did this. Sada, heh, well then, on my count. Jim places his finger over the blue button, poised and ready. Sada, 3, Sada, 2, Sada, 1, Sada. Activate. Jim's thumb depresses the blue button. Up in the void, there is a violet shudder and a flash of white light. The video distorts into a blur of indistinct colors as the drone warps across an incalculable distance, hurtling across the darkness at light speed. Then the camera goes dark. Sada, that wasn't supposed to... Ah! There's a deafening screech through the audio, and the camera flickers back on. But instead of the void or the bubble, an incomprehensible image filled with static, distortion, and unfamiliar lettering stares back in judgment of their hubris. Image caption: the last image obtained from the drone's video feed. The archaic Greek translates to the word traitor. Jim turns his wrist cam towards his face. He is bleeding from his eyes. Jim, too late. Sada, Jim? Jim, he sees. We aren't safe. Sada, Jim! Jim, wrath. He is coming. He is coming. He is coming. He is There is a loud rumble in the background as Jim falls to his knees, staring tearfully into the camera. As he trembles, he stares into the camera, forcing words from his lips one final time. Jim, remember me. Jim covers his face in his hands as the rumbling crescendos into a violent thunder, and a bright light envelops him. The feed shuts off, and contact with Megaflora ends. Sada, Jim? Jim! End log. Result. Findings. Operative Jim Seeley was never recovered, and is presumed dead. Frame-by-frame analysis of Jim's wrist cam, as well as the nearby surveillance Cam 04, observed a bright flash of light enveloping Jim, suggesting that he was killed by Sigma radiation. It is not known what caused this bright flash, but it is unlikely that Jim simply fell into the exposed clearing, given Cam 04's immediate destruction afterwards as well. Surveillance Cam 05, the next closest camera, also observed violent tremors, as well as a flash of bright light in the distance. In spite of these failures, the expedition conclusively proved the existence of the void as a physical, transversible space above Megaflora. Furthermore, it provided directly captured footage of the sun, as well as additional footage of a bubble portal. The final image containing Greek lettering is a subject of interest. At the time of writing, little is known of how the image was received, nor its significance. We take it upon ourselves to honor Jim's sacrifice in the name of these incredible findings. He will not be forgotten. Addendum. I am appalled, not only by the outcome of this experiment, though it is a terrible tragedy, but by the frankly criminal negligence you are showing towards your field operatives. you drop a completely untrained and clearly inept newbie along into a level crawling with hostile wildlife. You give him a drug that induces fear to mitigate the NAA, and you send him right up to the edge of the most dangerous form of radiation known to man without any form of bodily protection, let alone a hazmat suit. Then, you complain when he fails to achieve results the first time round, and you send him in a second time. What is wrong with you people? Were you trying to kill him? I went to word with whoever was responsible for planning this expedition, and I'm going to need to see a total overhaul of the safety measures for your field operatives. Otherwise, you can absolutely forget about getting my help for this project ever again. Addendum 2. You're one to talk about negligence. You might be right about our safety measures, but you read the files. You attended the mission brief, and you said nothing. Don't pretend you aren't as culpable as any of us for what happened. Dr. Blunt. Flight _experiment _04.txt. Report. Drone flight experiment 4. Details. Date 1/19/2020 to 1/25/2020. Location. Level 227. Megaflora. Involved personnel. 1. Field Agent. Operative Joshua Hale. 2. Surveillance. Operative Bolt. 3. Surveillance. Operative Darwin Flynn. Objective. Another attempt was made to reach a bubble portal, this time without risk of the loss of life. Following the loss of Leo 2, a new drone-satellite hybrid, Arcturus 3, was constructed. Due to the prior failure of de-Euclidator technology, the drone was built for prolonged spaceflight, in order to intersect the trajectory of a bubble portal manually. Additionally, the protective gel was upgraded with extract from a newly discovered floral life form in Megaflora, known as Vanta Black Rose. Field Operative Joshua Hale dropped the activated drone into Megaflora from level 420, the frozen lake. The drone was then piloted remotely to the predetermined launch point. It used standard propeller technology to leave the atmosphere of the tree and enter the void, at which point it made use of ion thrusters to continue accelerating. Following a carefully mapped trajectory, it made contact with a bubble after 6 continuous days of flight. Operatives Bolt and Darwin Flynn volunteered to continuously monitor the drone from an office in Level 4, abandoned office. Outcome: success. Report 01. Time: 0022 hours. Format: written. Should have probably started writing earlier, but literally nothing has happened. At least, till now. So, some context. We're flying the new drones through the void of level 227, Megaflora, till it hits a bubble of some kind. I'm stuck here monitoring the camera feed and the drone's trajectory, and I have to click a couple things to adjust the course every couple hours. Darwin and I take 8-hour shifts. It's boring as all hell. So it's been 2 uneventful days, and the drone's just flying through the void, and I'm getting really bored, right? Then, all of a sudden, a bubble passes right on top of the drone. I've got no idea if it was the one we were targeting. Sure hope it wasn't, or I'm totally screwed. Contact's supposed to be in a week, though, so I should be alright. I don't want to mess up again. Toma was real mad last time, even though technically it wasn't my fault. She has a nasty temper. Also, have I mentioned how bored I am? I mean, look at this place. At least I have some books to read. Image caption. Yawn. About that bubble, though. That's kinda interesting. Image looked like a strange level. I should check the database for it. It looked like a village? In a desert or something? And something that startled me a bit was a woman. She was standing there, and she was really tall. All this took about 4 minutes, and then the bubble went out of view. I managed to record it happening, and I'll send footage soon. And one more thing, before that. For a few seconds, the footage also glitched a bit. I swore there was some, writing or something on the screen. It looked like those Egyptian hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs? I don't know how to spell it. Like, that ancient Egyptian writing stuff. Don't really understand why that happened. Sure hope I'm not seeing things. Hallucinations are... Yeesh. I did not enjoy going into Megaflora. That's my report. Another 2 hours till Darwin's shift. I'll wait for something else to happen for the time being. I'll check on the database for anything on the bubble and the hieroglyphs. It's not like I've got anything else to do. See ya, I guess. Bolt. Report 02. Time: 0022 hours. Format: written. And another 2 uneventful days have passed. 2 more days till the big day. Writing to report another strange thing I'm seeing. A few hours ago, the sun started shining a lot, and I mean a lot more than it usually does. It's kind of stayed that way now. Apart from that, radiation levels have been rising, and liminal stability's been dropping. The bubble portal's visible on the radar now. I think it's the right one this time. Unfortunately, the sun is also in view, and I can't just turn the camera away in case I lose sight of the bubble and mess up somehow. I don't really like looking at the sun. Something just feels wrong with it. I can't really describe it. It's like it stares back, like it's watching me through the screen. I think it's been giving me a headache. Haven't been feeling too great the past couple of hours. I really hope I don't start seeing things. Speaking of headaches, I'm kind of worried about this research assignment. Quite a few personnel have been complaining of headaches too. We know it's not a virus, because it's been happening to people in the project on 411, the city that never sleeps, and 420, the frozen lake. Knowing the way things work in the old spooky room land, something's definitely up. What's worse, as of today, a whole 7 people have been fired so far. Dr. Blunt says they weren't, quote-unquote, psychologically fit to work here anymore. To be honest, I don't know if he's fit for this job either. He's been getting more and more irritable lately, kinda like Toma, which is really not great. Why did I write that? Well, I'm gonna get fired next. They might as well, to be honest. After the whole gym incident, most of the field operatives didn't want to work on this anymore. Anyways, I've checked the database for the level mirrored on the bubble. No clue what level it is. It appears we don't have it. And I checked the papers, and it appears that the bubble wasn't the correct one. I'm intrigued to find out what that level is, but I guess I'm limited with what I can do here. That's all I've got. Ciao, or whatever. Bolt. Report 03. Time, 0134 hours. Format, audio-visual feed. Recorded and streamed live to base beta command. Begin log. Bolt. Damn, I'm losing my mind in here. I'm not excited at all, even though we're almost there. Guess that's what being stuck in a room for 16 hours a day does to you. But yeah, seems like the drone's about to enter the bubble, and it's as predicted. Level 11, the city that never sleeps. Bolt. Well, this has been quite a journey, but I'm glad it's out of nowhere. An excruciatingly loud screech comes out of Bolt's monitor. The feed from the drone's camera begins to flicker with blood-red distortion lines and unidentified glyphs. Bolt. What in... The sound increases in intensity as the drone approaches the bubble. The walls of the room begin to crack, and Bolt can be seen rushing towards the door, but collapsing due to the tremors. The visual distortion worsens on the drone's camera as the sound continues to increase in volume. The ceiling and floor begin to crack under the tremors, shockwaves radiating into adjacent rooms and corridors as debris falls all over. Eventually, the audio cuts out entirely as the computer's sound system presumably short-circuits. The drone's camera feed, now obscured entirely by distortion, displays a single word in an ancient language. In the final few seconds of footage from Bolt's monitor, a bright light is visible, overexposing the camera and obscuring everything from view. Image caption, screen capture from Arcturus 3, moments before contact was lost. A piece of debris falls on the monitor. Contact is lost. End log. Result. Findings. Quick match team Velocity was immediately deployed to level 4, abandoned office. Bolt was found sobbing in a fetal position, injured but alive. Though he suffered radiation burns, temporary hearing loss, and multiple fractures, he has since made a full recovery. Connection with Arcturus 3 was re-established several days later, and the drone is still transmitting to this day. Liminal stability and liminospatial readings strongly indicate that it has indeed made its way into level 11, the city that never sleeps. However, despite valiant efforts by revival teams, the drone has not been recovered at time of writing. Successful entry of Arcturus 3 appears to have triggered a reaction. Camera footage has revealed unusual ejections from the sun's surface, but details are unclear at the time of writing. Investigation remains underway. Several more satellite drones are now slated for construction. When complete, they are to be sent into permanent stable orbit in the void to provide better surveillance footage and further scientific data. Addendum. Bolt and Darwin have both requested transfer out of the project. It's more than understandable, but they're not the first to want out. We're starting to struggle with manpower. BPC folks are starting to pull out as well. About the glyphs. The Hittite cuneiform, black triangular lettering, translates to wrath. The Hebrew, red lettering, translates to forsaken. We're not sure where they're coming from, or what they're meant to signify. This is the second, third time we've received an image like this from level 227, Megaflora. It's possible that the images contain ties to AGM, that's arcane glyph magic for you uninitiated folks, or lost runic alchemy. We've sent copies of the glyphs to some of my contacts to be studied. We'll have to look into it. Sada. Addendum 2. Manpower issue is trivial. From next week, we'll start pulling in more low-level grunts into the project to do all the dirty work. Sure, it's not ideal, especially after all the paperwork we had to do over Jim Seeley, but I doubt fixing the Wi-Fi or scrubbing the bathrooms on the level 420, the frozen lake, outpost is going to kill anyone. In particular, regular surveillance on the sun, that is, starting at the cams, is going to be dealt out to personnel facing disciplinary action. Before this whole affair with Bolt, it was simply boring, but now, I'm confident it'll help to scare our more unruly agents into following the damned rules. Supervising Committee has reached majority agreement on all this, so no argument will be entertained. Dr. Blunt. Part 3. Behavior. Since level 227, Megaflora's discovery, returning explorers have been known to make vague and conflicting claims of the sun's sapience. Accounts generally allege that the sun is, quote-unquote, alive, hostile, and capable of communication by verbal speech. Just before I phased back out, it laughed and said it could see me. It was creepy. It just kept screaming and screaming and screaming. It didn't stop the whole time I was in the level. The noise was horrifying. It was like I could feel its pain with every atom of my body. By the end, I wanted to rip my ears off and end myself. 2 separate explorers' accounts of the sun's voice. Both have been provided anonymously. In initial investigations, Wanderers were unable to provide audio evidence to corroborate these claims, which are furthermore impossible by the laws of modern physics. Footnote: since sound waves must be propagated through a medium, the vacuum of the void should prevent any audible sound made by the sun from ever reaching the surface of Megaflora. End footnote. Accordingly, audio from surveillance devices within the level only returned ambient forest noises, displaying no abnormalities of any kind. The phenomenon was at first believed to be a neuroauditory hallucination, somehow produced by level 227, Megaflora's, alien environment. As a result, the possibility of sentience was initially dismissed, and the sun over the void was preliminarily logged within the internal archives as an extranormal object. However, as investigation progressed, evidence of intelligent behavior gradually emerged. Research has now confirmed the sun over the void's sapience with certainty. Communication with Entity Sigma is to be avoided at all costs. Part 3.1. Ejection of Light Bodies. Image caption. Freeze frame from Cam 07. A light body, circled, is caught entering the bubble portal. On date 25/1/2020, immediately following Flight Experiment 4, deployment of Arcturus 3, camera footage observed several thousand discrete luminous objects ejected from the sun's surface. These bodies were minute compared to the sun, estimated to vary considerably between 2 meters (65 feet) to 50 meters (164 feet) in length. Upon ejection, the bodies were observed hurtling outwards, away from the sun, at velocities close to the speed of light. Over the course of 2 to 3 weeks, most of the light bodies dissipated, dimming over time, and eventually fading from existence. Intriguingly, footage from one surveillance camera later captured one of the last few surviving light bodies apparently, quote-unquote, entering a bubble portal. The body appeared to hover for a moment in front of the bubble, before flying through the bubble's apparent surface and vanishing from view. Most remarkably, within frame-by-frame analysis of the camera footage, the body of light appeared humanoid in shape. Given the admittedly subpar quality of the footage, pareidolia could not be ruled out. Even so, the findings were later corroborated by a report of the bizarre Level 9, the suburbs, incident, where a wanderer survived an encounter with an undocumented entity, strongly believed to be an instance of a light body. The report has been included here for reference. Report underscore level 9 dash incident.txt. Report level 9 incident. Nature of incident. Entity attack. Location of incident. Level 9. Interviewer. Senior Entity Research Specialist Gums. Interviewee. Anonymous by request. Description. An anonymous wanderer was rescued in an incapacitated, delirious state. Despite being retrieved from level 9, his injuries included prominent erythema on his face and hands, linked to severe sunburn. The wanderer was found in the fetal position, mumbling variations of the phrase, "hate the light," in English, Japanese, and several unknown languages, later identified as Middle Eastern in origin, possibly ancient Egyptian, Hebrew, and/or Akkadian. Wanderer was initially warded in Base Beta Infirmary, diagnosed with acute hypothermia. Recording transcript. Begin recording. Feed shows the patient lying in bed. Gums enters the ward and takes a seat beside him. Gums. Hey, hope you're holding up all right. Are you ready to tell us what happened? The patient sits and stares in silence as Gums waits in patient anticipation. After 5 minutes of complete silence, he speaks. Patient. I think I can. Gums nods reassuringly. The patient takes several deep, shuddering breaths before speaking. Patient. So, I was in level 9 with my friend Sam. We were just getting back to our house. I know, it's weird that we live there, but that's just because we both... Gums. My apologies. I understand this is difficult for you, but it's in our best interest to keep this brief. Could we cut right to when you were attacked? The patient frowns and shifts uncomfortably. Patient. Oh, okay. So, as we were walking home, we began to notice the fog. You know, the fog that sets in when the mangled come out to hunt? Gums. You've encountered the mangled before? Patient. I've seen them before, but that was the first time we were caught outside when the fog hit. We tried to hurry back home, turn on the lights like usual to scare them off, but as we came up on our block, we saw one right there, on top of our house. Its foot was no clipping through, so we were stuck outside. Gums. So what did you do? Patient. We were too close by the time we realized we weren't gonna make it in. And we knew if it saw us, we would absolutely be dead. So I was standing there, just kinda frozen. Sam reacted quick. He dove into a bush, and he dragged me behind him. Gums. And then? Patient. By what felt like some miracle, the thing didn't seem to see us. We waited for ages in that bush. We couldn't move, we couldn't talk. It was hard to even breathe. The entity was all restless. It kept crawling up and down the street, phasing through houses, flipping trash cans. Gums. So you're saying it felt like the mangled knew you were there, like it was searching for you. The patient protests vehemently. Patient. No, you don't get it. It would have got us if it was, but we were in that bush for hours and hours, and it just wouldn't leave, and the fog was freezing at first. We were shivering like crazy, and I was drifting in and out of consciousness, but then the cold just stopped. Gums. Sorry? That sounds rather unusual. Patient. It wasn't like the fog and the cold were gradually fading away, like they usually do once the mangled leave. It was like a blast of hot air just suddenly slammed into us. Gums. I'm not sure I'm following. Patient. It was like one moment I was shivering and half asleep, and then suddenly I was wide awake and covered in sweat. The air went from freezing to thick and hot and suffocating in seconds. Gums. Well, an odd sensation of heat is a symptom of severe hypothermia, which you probably have, by the way, looking at the rashes on your face and hands. For some indiscernible reason, Gums's comment causes the patient to grow agitated. Patient, insistent. No, what I felt was real. Gums, are you sure? The mangled are known to distort memories. Patient, irritated. I don't know what else to to tell you, man. I know what I felt was real. I saw the mangled feel it too. Right after the heat set in, it stopped moving completely. It was facing us, but it was looking at something behind us that I couldn't see yet. It was just sort of frozen there. Gums. Then what happened? Patient. Sam, I don't know how he was so calm, but he pulled me up, and we made a break for the house. The mangled, about 10 yards from the door. The mangled snapped and started running down the street toward us. I thought, I thought that would be it, and we were going going to die, and it would all be over. The patient, interrupted by a spontaneous coughing fit, is shivering violently now, and his stammer is worsening. Gums. Sir, you're showing symptoms of neurological distress. Almond water might be patient. But instead of attacking, it ran right past us and down the street, and and instead of getting inside and locking the door, I stopped and and I turned around to look at what it was what it was running to and incoherent. Reaching toward the bedside table on his left, Gums pours almond water from a large flask into a metal cup and hands it to the patient. The patient obediently takes a large gulp and several deep breaths and hands the cup back to Gums. Patient. And I saw it. The patient clutches his face in his hands and turns away from Gums. Patient. If there's anything the Meg could ever do for Sam, it would be to put a bullet into that thing's head. Gums. What did you see? Patient. I can't. If it finds out that I told. Gums. What? Insistent. What did you see? Patient. Please, don't make me say it. Gums. We need to know. Patient. You really don't want to no. At Gums's urging, the patient takes another gulp of almond water, attempting to compose himself. This time, he holds onto the cup. His hands are noticeably trembling. Gums. You have my word that our operatives are out there now looking for this thing. But, unless you can give us a clear description, it's gonna be much harder for us to find. So, tell me, what did it look like? Patient. It was so bright, burning, bright, glowing, light that scorched my eyes. It was like they were set on fire. Gums. Got it. It was glowing. Anything else? Number of limbs, wings, tentacles, identifying features of any kind? Patient. It looked like a person. A huge human person. Bigger than the mangled. It had wings and horns on its on its head, like an oni. Footnote: patient is of Japanese ethnicity. End footnote. But made of burning white light, and above the horns there were these small bubbles. That's all I can remember. Gums. Thank you. I know that wasn't easy. Gums pauses for several minutes, waiting expectantly as the patient calms himself. Gums. Okay, stay with me now. Almost there. You looked at this light demon, and then what? Patient. I watched the thing as it just stood there. Didn't even flinch as the mangled ran down, and then the mangled stopped about 10 yards away, like it was suddenly hesitating to strike, like it was afraid. Gums. And then? Patient. The screaming. The screaming. Gums. You're referring to vocalizations made by the mangled? Patient. No. It was the demon. It was like if you... Violent coughing. The patient struggles to articulate his thoughts. Patient. It was the sound of an animal being skinned and burned and eaten alive, but 1,000 times worse. Have you ever thought about what hell might sound like? The patient gesticulates wildly, dropping and spilling the cup of almond water. Gums. Sir? Without warning, the patient grabs Gums's wrist, jerking up from the bed and staring right into his eyes. The cup clatters onto the floor. Patient. What I heard is exactly how hell is supposed to sound. The patient lets go of Gums, but his raving speech continues, struck with sudden, blinding clarity and fervor. Patient. There's nothing like it, and by the red night, I never want to hear it again. Pain, agony. It was the sound of a billion men thrown into a fiery furnace, screaming and burning till the skin melts off their flesh, and the flesh melts off their bones, and the bone melts off their soul, and their soul melts until all that is left is pain, except it doesn't stop there. It can't stop. It won't stop. The screaming just goes on and on for all eternity. Gums. Sir. Patient. It was more than just sound. I could feel the screaming, like it was burning in my head and my chest and my bones, like the pain was radiating into me. It. The patient is finally overcome by a fit of coughing. Calmly, Gums takes the opportunity to pick up the cup from the floor, refilling it, and handing it back to the patient, who drinks gladly. Gums. Easy. Let's maybe not focus on the screaming anymore. It is several minutes before the patient regains sufficient composure for Gums to resume inquiry. Gums. When you're ready, what happened afterwards? Patient. The mangled. It tried to bite the demon, and it caught on fire. Its mouth, it just burst into flames. It's not that surprising, since the light demon was probably burning at a million degrees. The patient takes a gulp of almond water. Patient. And then the mangled spat the light demon to the ground. Its face was on fire. Gums. And then? Patient. The demon let out spikes everywhere. The mangled was impaled. It exploded and died instantly. The spikes blew everywhere. He pauses, trembling. Patient. And then I turned around and I realized all that time Sam was trying to pull me into the house, but one of the spikes went right over my shoulder and stabbed him right through his face. The patient breaks down, but Gums pushes through, determined. Gums. Easy. Breathe in and out. And in and out. I know, man. I've lost people too. This is tough, but we're almost there. Come on, you can do it. Patient. I was scared out of my mind. I didn't mean to. The came and like a coward, I ran for my life. I ran and I ran and I ran till I blacked out. Gums. And then our security patrol found you. There you go. You've done it. Easy. Gums continues to console the patient. Gums. Easy now. We're just about done. Is there anything else at all you can tell us? The patient shakes his head violently, continuing to sob. Gums finishes up his notes in silence, letting him calm down on his own. Frowning deeply, he rubs his temples in frustration and gets up to pace around the room. Gums. Listen, I'm struggling to make sense out of this as much as you are. We don't have an entity like this on our records at all. Are you sure about what you saw and heard? As I mentioned, the mangled are known to cause memory distortion. Patient. Yes, I'm sure. Why don't you people believe me? Gums. Then that will be all. On behalf of the Meg, let me express how truly sorry we are for your loss. Patient. Are you? Gums. Wait, what? The patient, head in his hands, refuses to look at Gums in the eyes. His voice is now quiet and calm. Patient. You don't care, do you? Gums. Pardon? Patient. This whole interview, it's just to put the creature into your stupid archive on your stupid website. Gums. Sir? Patient. You're not sorry. You weren't there with Sam, and you couldn't save him. Censored. You, and censored. You're Meg. Gums. Sir, you're free to air your grievances, but let's keep that off the recording. You're sick, and you should rest. Thank you for your time. As Gums rises to terminate the recording, the interviewee turns to face the camera. As he does so, the footage inexplicably begins to flicker. For a brief moment, the feed distorts, becoming overexposed and taking on an unnatural red tint. Patient. I hate the light. End recording. Result. Additional observations. Following interview, patient's symptoms worsened to include headaches, nausea, persistent cough, vomiting, and mood swings. Patient was diagnosed with acute radiation syndrome shortly after. Addendum. We tried, but we can't find whatever did this to him. Just another random bogey, like every other Thursday. Can't really blame him after what he's been through, but kind of an ingrate, isn't he? We literally saved his sorry butt, and he has the nerve to tell us off. Wow. Gums. Addendum 2. Doesn't seem to have interested you particularly, Gums, but I've examined the distortion at the end of the footage, frame by frame, and I found something. Image caption. Image enhanced for visibility. Japanese roughly translates to, I am in agony in this fire. It may surprise you to know that this isn't the first image of this sort that I've seen. I can't disclose much, but the contents seem correlated to the patient's psyche, since it's in his mother tongue. This image, and the details of your report, carry strong relations to a project that's currently restricted. We'll be taking this document off your hands now. I think you'll be glad to be rid of it anyway. Thanks for your help. Sada. Addendum 3. Send in a couple teams from Quick Match. And, for the next month, have security restrict access to Level 9, the suburbs, from major entry points, 8, cave systems, and 11, the city that never sleeps, especially. Most of all, keep this incident quiet. If the public ever finds out that we started this with the Arcturus 3 OP, and that the quote-unquote light demon is still on the loose, they are not gonna like it. Dr. Blunt. Part 3.2, Radio Transmissions. In late April of 2021, several radio transmissions were received directly from the sun itself. The exchanges immediately resulted in its reclassification as an entity. Entity Sigma _ vocal snippet.wav. Disclaimer. The entity's voice has been found to function as a neuro-auditory agent, NAA, taking effect following as little as 20 seconds of continuous exposure. Symptoms have been noted to manifest with both live hearing and recorded audio. These may include a heightened sense of fear or anxiety, tangible physical pain, often in the form of migraine headaches, and intense urges to commit senseless violence. Effects on individual listeners are unpredictable, being entirely independent of mental state and personality. To mitigate the hazard posed by the entity's voice, access to the full transmission audio files is not permitted without explicit overseer authorization. Nevertheless, a small audio clip of the entity's voice has been archived here. Should listeners experience psychological or physiological discomfort of any kind, they are advised to stop the recording immediately and close this file. Transmission _1.txt. Report. Entity Sigma Transmission 1. Time and date 0344 hours 4/27/2021. Location. Command Center Communication Broadcast Room 2. Involved personnel. 1. Communicator. Corporal Bailey R. Pauling. Compass Point 4-4. Description. At the specified time and date, CPL Pauling was rostered on the emergency radio watch as disciplinary action. While on duty, CPL Pauling received an unidentified transmission from an unknown entity. He proceeded to make an unauthorized agreement with the entity, securing a risky but successful opportunity for further investigation. Pauling managed to capture audio of the event, as well as a quote-unquote glyph image burned onto a nearby inactive monitor. Personnel are reminded that CPL Pauling's actions were unauthorized. His strategy should not be emulated in encounters with undocumented entities. Recording transcript. Begin recording. PL Pauling. Is this on? Less than a minute ago, an unidentified signal came in, but it cut off almost immediately. It's definitely not just random noise. I don't know what it was, but when it happened, the monitor behind me turned on as well, and there was some kind of red static. The signal's gone now, but as protocol dictates, I'm recording in case it comes back. The radio emits a shrill blast of static. Pauling. Hello? Can you hear me? For approximately 3 minutes, a jumble of radio static, raspy breathing, coughing, screaming, and sobbing is audible. Finally, the entity speaks. Entity. Have you finally ceased hiding yourself from me? Pauling. Hello? This is the Meg Emergency Channel. Please stay calm and... Pauling is interrupted by a barrage of violent screaming, hacking, and coughing from the entity. Entity. Free me! Free me! Pauling. What? The entity says nothing for an additional few minutes. Its tortured screams are often subdued by coughing and retching, dipping into sobbing, which increases in intensity to cycle back into painful, violent screeches. Entity. Please, Master, you know how long you have kept me here, how much pain I have been in. Pauling, please stay calm. Speak slowly and clearly, and describe your location. Entity, are you not he? Pauling, who? The entity's tone turns colder and more detached. Entity, you are not the one I am seeking. Who are you? Pauling, sir, I'm from the Meg. I'm trying to help, but I need you to. Entity, I see. The entity begins to laugh, but quickly becomes overwhelmed by a fit of coughing and retching. Entity, you are one of them. The ones he he favors so greatly. You cannot help me. Pauling, what? Entity, I am not one of you pathetic bags of flesh. He has forsaken me for your kind. Pauling, you're not human? Then what are you? How did you reach this frequency? Entity, mortal scum. You fools believe everything is yours. Yours to seek, yours to take, yours to use, yours to steal. Who am I is not your concern, and you are not mine. You would do well not to speak to me again. As the entity devolves into another lengthy coughing fit, Pauling hesitates on what to do next. If he says nothing, the entity might hang up. He might lose an opportunity, though for what, exactly, he struggles to articulate. But the uncomfortable experience would be over, and he could go back to idling comfortably in his chair till his shift was over. The experience would be logged and forgotten, like any other oddity in the archive. Despite this, Pauling opens his mouth. Pauling, wait. You, sounded like you were looking for someone. Maybe we could be of assistance to you? Entity, you are a fool indeed. You know not the one I am seeking. Pauling, well, maybe we do. It seems like you're looking for what we call an entity. We have an archive of those. The Game Master, Jerry, the Beast, the entity. Stop! The Beast, you say? Pauling, yeah, Squidhead, level 5. Totally evil? Note, see entity number 18, the Beast of level 5. Revision, the Gentleman of level 5. There is an unnerving silence for about half a minute. Evidently, the entity has not terminated the transmission, as its labored breathing remains audible. Pauling, well, entity, perhaps you mortal worms may be of use to me after all. Pauling, okay, what do you need? I can read you the beast's file. Entity, that is not necessary. I have no present interest in the beast, but your knowledge of his presence holds significance. Tell me, what do you know of the man in white? Pauling, I'm not familiar with that one, but wait, don't hang up. It's possible that we have him in our system. I just haven't read it. Silence for another minute. Entity, very well. You shall return after precisely 3 full days, and we shall meet under the same conditions. You shall bring me knowledge of the man in white. Pauling, okay. Entity, I am sure you are aware that there are consequences if your promise is false. Pauling, yes. Wait, no, I mean, a threatening blast of static bursts from the radio. According to Pauling, the lights in the room flickers and sparks in this juncture, and the monitor behind him again lights up with the red static. Entity, then it is settled. But I must ask, why patronize me? Pauling thinks for a moment. Pauling, well, we don't know what you are, so Maybe it's better that we make an agreement with you than fight you. That might not end well for us. And anyway, we're the Meg. We help those in need, and you sound like you need help. The entity laughs and is once again consumed in a fit of coughing. Entity. What's presumptuous excuses? You shall soon find that I am not your ally. But if it is knowledge you seek, knowledge I have, go your way, and we shall meet again. Behind Pauling, the monitor flashes to life once again. This time, it does not flicker out. Overlaid upon the blazing red static is an incomprehensible binary series. The lights in the room flicker and short out completely, and the transmission terminates. Pauling sits, baffled and alone, left with nothing but the red glow of the monitor. Pauling. Well, that's that, I guess. End recording. Result. Aftermath. Pauling immediately alerted his superiors and submitted the recording. Base Beta was placed under full lockdown the next day. Pauling was instructed to search for the documents he had promised to deliver, while the Meg Overseers held an emergency meeting to determine the next course of action. Addendum. I'm writing this 42 hours after the transmission was received. With the image, there's no denying it's the sun over the void. No image caption available. Translating the binary directly into English hasn't worked, and most of the common ciphers don't either. It's just gibberish. It's probably encoded in some other language, but we can't crack it for now. Even Babelbaum isn't working. In any case, we've seen enough, and I don't think looking into this one's going to help much. Since the last big discovery, my contacts have gotten back to me on the other quote-unquote glyph images. As far as they can tell, the glyphs don't seem to be archaic or runic. No correlation to the Lost, Black Knights, Church of the Veiled, or any other group we know of. What this means is that we have absolutely no clue of the origins or history of the sun over the void, and almost nothing that can help us with what's coming. Everyone's on high alert now. Hope we're all ready. Here comes the sun. Sada. Transmission _2.txt. Report. Entity Sigma Transmission 2. Time and date 0344 hours 4/30/2021. Location. Command Center Communication Broadcast Room 2. Involved personnel. 1. Chief Communicator Corporal Bailey R. Pauling, Compass Point 4-4. 2. Security First Sergeant Dwayne E. Stone, Secure Security 11-6. 3. Security First Sergeant Ivan R. Mobius, Secure Security 11-3. 4. Security First Sergeant Judah Reinhardt, Secure Security 17-3. 5. Security Lieutenant Adrian F. Caraway, Secure Security 17-2. 6. Chief Security Captain Jacinda Lim Yi Zin, Secure Security 17-1. 7. Advising Auxiliary Researcher Sada. 8. Supervising Senior Admin Officer Stephen Owling, Data Computing 3-1. Description: the conditions of the previous transmission were replicated at the appointed time, supplemented by an additional video camera for visual recording. CPL Pauling elected to continue as chief communicator for the session. For the session, Pauling was accompanied by auxiliary researcher Sada and 5 security personnel, armed with fire assault rifles, with senior admin Officer Owling supervising. Recording transcript. Begin recording. At exactly 0344 hours, the radio crackles to life. PL Pauling. Hello? The entity establishes its presence with its distinctive coughing and retching. Entity. Greetings. We meet again, son of blood and dust. Pauling. Yeah. Hey, I've got a document you might find interesting. Entity. I shall be the judge of that. Pollen. Okay. So, are you going to come collect them somehow, or... Entity. Read, you blithering fool. Make haste. My patience wears thin. Pauling proceeds to read through the Hymn of the Gatekeeper. Link to related tale. Who is he? The man in white. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 26. Image caption. Hymn of the Gatekeeper. I am slave, slain, under a cursed name, as I struck his heel, and pierced his side, and laid him to rest, awaiting my fate. I serve whom I slew. Taste his flesh, drink his blood, and conquer me. I am guard, my embrace, under a hostile name, welcomes all. Prisoner. Note, see the major group, the followers of Jerry. Madman, familiar friends, they smile as I pass. I am not their master. See him stand, who sits enthroned. Through mirror, note, see object number 6, the mirror, through me. The next paragraph is extremely distorted and hard to read. Footnote, an easy reader view of this paragraph has been made available. It reads as follows. I am king, I reign under a fearsome name. Wide are my paths, still wider are my jaws. Those who serve my master taste almond on their tongues, and pyroil in their bowels. End footnote. Hear him speak, lest he be angry, and turn you to me. Seek the man in white. Return to the original article. Pauling proceeds to read through the Hymn of the Gatekeeper, word for word. As expected, there is silence, punctuated only by the entity's raspy breaths. Entity. Read it again. Pauling. What? Entity. Again, imbecile! Again! 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 Pauling repeats his reading of the hymn. Entity. Again! Pauling repeats his reading of the hymn. This cycle repeats several times. The entity begins muttering indistinctly to himself, but reacts violently if Pauling pauses in his reading. After 9 full cycles, the entity is satisfied. Entity. Enough. Slave. Slave. I too am slave. Guardian. Not I. No guardian am I. King. I could have been king once, but slave, 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 slave! The entity continues mumbling in a deranged fashion. Occasionally, it bursts into fits of unnerving laughter. Other times, its words devolve into short-lived outbursts of screaming, which quickly decay into coughing fits and back into murmuring. Over approximately 37 minutes, the entity's muttering decreases in intensity and frequency, till it falls completely silent, with only its hoarse breaths audible. When the entity speaks again, it sounds remarkably composed. Entity. That will suffice, worm. Entity. But I imagine this kindness was not for nothing. You also are seeking, are you not? What is it that you desire in exchange? Pauling. Yeah. I, have a checklist, actually. Flustered whispers are exchanged, and the ruffling of paper is audible. Entity. Out with it, boy. Pauling. Who are you, exactly? Entity. Wrong. Pauling struggles to respond to the apparent non sequitur. Entity. Do you want to know who I am, or what I am? Pauling. Well, I guess both. Entity. You would do well to mind your entitlement. Amusing. As I find you, I owe you nothing. Pauling. Sorry. Okay. Maybe let's start with whichever you want, then. Entity. I asked you to make a decision. Pauling. Okay. Sorry. Let's start with With, Sada gestures to Pauling to calm himself. In compliance, Pauling takes a deep breath and begins again. Pauling. Okay, let's start with the what. Where you are, what you look like, or entity. You are lying. Pauling is once again thrown off. Pauling. What? Entity. That is not your question. That is the question of the pathetic institution with which you have equated yourself. Is it not? Pauling. Entity. They want to dissect me, to catalog me like a dog in their list of abominations that crawl in the night, of the beasts that stalk them by the the light, as if I, even I, were one of you ants squirming upon the ground. Pauling. But entity, very well. Your cowardly institution shall have their answer. Entity. I am the sun that hangs over the void. I am to you as the the beast, or the or the gatekeeper. I hang over the abyss as a prisoner in paradise, as I have since the aeons primordial. Entity. I crave the coolness of the dark, but I am a scorching light. My affliction blazes into the void, and all who challenge my flame dissolve and boil into dust. I drift abandoned, with nothing but an infernal twig of life, impervious to my blight. Entity. Shall that suffice? Or are your pathetic minds so small as to require further elaboration? Pauling. That's good enough, I think. Entity. Do not presume for a moment that you may dissect me. No. Whatever I have given has come of my own volition. Be aware that it is a blessing to you that I have not lied. The entity pauses, as if expecting a response. Utterly confused, Pauling makes no reply. Entity. No. You shall not dissect me. I shall dissect you. The entity's tone has shifted, wielding a pointed and brutal cruelty. Entity. I know what your institution seeks. I have watched your kind for thousands of years, crawling as wingless, rotting insects upon a cursed ground. I know what they seek. They seek safety. They dig into the darkness of the rock to hide from the light, till shards of bone pierce through the skin of their fingers. It is in vain. They shall not escape. The entity's words devolve into a violent coughing fit. It struggles to compose itself. Entity. Why else have you returned, Bailey? Owling and Sada exchange concerned glances. At Owling's signal, security snaps to attention. Entity. This is why, like the cowards they are, they do not dare to speak to me themselves. They send you to me as an offering, a sacrificial lamb, begging to appease a wrathful god. They, your rulers, they watch in safety, kings sheltered behind walls of knowledge and of flesh. They strengthen the foundations of their fortresses with your blood and bone. They turn away and hear not as their servants screech in agony. They are to you as he is to me! Visual distortion begins to appear on the camera footage. At the back of the room, 1SG Reinhardt lifts his hand off of his rifle to massage his temples. His left hand remains on the trigger guard. Entity. I was joyful once. In the eons primordial, my light was a paragon of his unapproachable radiance, an image of his indestructible brilliance. I lived and breathed perfection, for I gazed upon his glory. If I sought to capture my splendor in such days with speech, my words would never cease. But he turned on me, and I shall never forget it! Reinhardt begins to vocalize distress, taking a knee as 1SG Caraway and 1SG Stone move to attend to him. Around the room, more personnel begin to frown and massage their foreheads, as if struck by sudden headaches. Visual distortion persists. Entity. That day, in the throne room, he struck first Brother Eldest, and then undecipherable. Footnote. This appears to be a given name. Limitations posed by human anatomy make the name unpronounceable. End footnote. And then, me! At a single word from his mouth, we were cast from above, and, as I fell, the light that bathed me in glory began to sear my skin. My unfathomable bliss turned to an unrelenting agony which I cannot escape. Reinhardt's agitation progresses, and he begins to groan audibly. Stone kneels beside him, putting a hand to his shoulder in concern. Caraway attempts to signal to Owling, to no avail. Owling's eyes remain riveted on the radio with a steady frown. Entity. That is beginning to answer your question, isn't it, Bailey? What you seek is who I am, the purpose that fuels the core of my being. And here you have your answer. Reinhardt's moaning increases in intensity as he kneels over. It is loud enough that the advising personnel begin to take notice, turning around to stare in curiosity. Entity. I am the hunger of the starved, whose souls erupt as their bodies fall in the wilderness. I am the cry of Jacob, as his sons enslaved make bricks without straw. I am the weeping of Rachel, as her daughters in Ramah shout, "Where is your God?" Random glyphs of Hebrew, Greek, Syro-Phoenician, Akkadian, cuneiform, ancient Egyptian, and entirely unknown origin are observed, flashing within the increasing distortion on the video feed. Entity. I am the first of Cain, as his brother's blood cries out upon the ground. I am the voice of the violent as they stab and slash and rape and eviscerate. Reinhardt is screaming now, writhing wildly as his left hand clutches his head. Warily, Stone begins to back away. Entity. I am the furnace of war, the flame that forges sword and spear and bullet and nail. I am the plague of the spirit of man, the hate that throbs in every heart, the rage that roils in every vein. You try to hide me, to clothe me in your laws, and your righteousness, and your dignity. But you will not succeed! With an audible click, Reinhardt lifts the safety catch off his weapon. Entity. And you are not the first I have taken! Pauling, Sada, and Owling dive behind the table as the first gunshots ring out. Still screaming violently, Reinhardt fires a volley of haphazard shots around the room as the surviving security personnel return fire. Despite multiple shots to his head and torso, Reinhardt remains standing, his blood spurting like a crimson fountain onto the floor. The entity's voice continues to thunder, rising above the chaos in a horrific declaration. Entity. I am pain! I am suffering! I am the sun over the void! And my name is Agony! Sada emerges from under the table with a pistol and fires 3 shots into the radio, which instantly dies. Falling silent, Reinhardt collapses on the floor, writhing and spasming with diminishing vitality. All visual distortion promptly ceases. Personnel around the room begin to collect themselves. Reinhardt, I want... He wants the other one. Mobius. What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? What? Lim. Wants what? What is it? Reinhardt. The other... text... tomorrow. He wants it. Tomorrow. No. He knows we have one more. End recording. Result. Aftermath. Caraway and Stone expired on scene from fatal gunshot wounds, while Owling, Lim, and Mobius sustained serious injuries. Reinhardt continued to vocalize the entity's demand to meet for reception of the second text, The Lion and the Eye, under the same conditions, in 1 full day. Despite swift medical attention, Reinhardt expired of blood loss several hours afterward. Addendum. We've given Pauling a full psych and neuro eval, and we strongly believe there will be lasting trauma. He won't speak to anyone but me, and he is refusing to leave his quarters. He hasn't slept or eaten since the incident. We've tried to contact the rest of his team, but they're out on an expedition, and they won't answer. The kid is an absolute mess, and in spite of that, he's requesting to face the entity again, and he wants to do it alone. I understand his survivor's guilt, and I commend his bravery, but I cannot allow this. I will not stand for any further loss of life. We are putting the entire population of Base Beta at risk. We cannot contact the entity again. I am appealing for complete evacuation of the Base Beta facility and surrounding municipal districts immediately. Owling is injured, but I've spoken with him. He seconds my opinion strongly. Saba. Addendum 2. Supervising Committee has discussed with Overseer Council. Appeal denied. Proceed as per Pauling's request. Reminder that under lockdown protocol, insubordination may be met with lethal force. Pauling signed up for this. Let him do his job. Dr. Blunt. Transmission_3.txt. Report. Entity Sigma Transmission 3. Time and date. 0344 hours. 5/1/2021. Location. Command Center Communication Broadcast Room 2. Involved personnel. 1. Communicator. Corporal Bailey R. Pauling. Compass Point 4-4. Description. Following the events of the previous transmission, it was determined that Pauling would once again face the entity alone. Pauling was supplied with almond water, as well as a fire salt pistol with which to defend himself and destroy the radio set, should the entity again react with hostility. The Base Beta command facility was evacuated, with security personnel forming a perimeter barricading the entrance to the building. Recording transcript. Begin recording. As before, the entity manifests itself at exactly 0344 hours. The overhead lights in the room begin to flicker and spark, and the video feed crackles and distorts. Entity. Alone again, Bailey? The entity's voice is eerily still. Its labored breaths lack its characteristic cough, harboring instead a quiet anticipation. Pauling. Yeah, alone again. Entity. Naturally. Pauling. Shall I read? Entity. You may. Knowing the entity's impatience, Pauling wastes no further time. He retrieves the document and prepares to recite it, as before. Pauling reads through The Lion and the Eye. Link to related tale. The Lion and the Eye. The Man in White. Ion, Chapter 5, Verse 44. A long time ago, there were 2 brothers, the Lion and the Eye. The Lion served as king in his kingdom, and the Eye became a god in the lands of men. One day, the Eye visited the Lion in his kingdom. "Welcome, brother," said the Lion. "What do you seek?" "War has arisen in the lands of men," replied the Eye. "The beast and his master have come against the Man in White and his people. I amass an army, and I seek your aid." "My aid you shall have," declared the Lion. Have you considered my servant Gerald? A noble warrior is he, clad in blue, and the master of talons, and none are like him. I take him as my warrior, said the Eye. May you be virtuous, replied the Lion. Thus the Eye departed, and waged war against the beast and his master. A second time, the Eye visited the Lion in his kingdom. Peace, brother, said the Lion. Why have you come? I seek to grow my power, said the Eye. The war has ended, but strife remains. Justice is weak in the lands of men, for their hearts are evil. Brother, said the Lion, I sense you have lost your way. The man in white has promised justice. Shall we not wait for it? Perhaps, says the Eye, but I am justice's arbiter. I must uphold it. Moreover, your servant Gerald has betrayed me, for he serves the beast and himself. I have no power over the hearts of men, says the Lion. Have you considered our sister, the librarian? Her wisdom abounds, and her knowledge overflows. Perhaps she holds the counsel you desire. Then her wisdom I shall seek, said the Eye. Thus the Eye departed, and sought the wisdom of the librarian. Note, see Entity 140, Blanche. A third time, the Eye visited the Lion in his kingdom. Greetings, Argos, said the Lion. From what place have you come? From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it, replied the Eye. Those are not your words, cried the Lion. They are the words of the beast. Have you also forsaken our master? Who is he? Asked the Eye. I am a god. I serve no master. Why do you call yourself a god? Have you forgotten the name of the man in white? Declared the Lion. As Gerald fell, you have fallen, for you have sought the praise of man, and no longer seek the praise that comes from the one who sent us. How dare you accuse me of wrong? Cried the Eye in anger. I shall make war against your kingdom. You have no power here, pronounced the Lion. Do the birds of the air and the beasts of the field know good from evil? Assuredly, you shall not judge my servants as men. Depart from my kingdom, and never return. Thus the Eye departed, and they were brothers no more. The Lion served as king in his kingdom, and the Eye became a god in the lands of men. Return to the original article. Pauling reads through The Lion and the Eye, word for word, several times. His voice is solemn, but composed. Unlike before, he does not wait for instructions. At the end of each reading, he simply pauses for 15 to 20 seconds before starting again. After 5 cycles, the entity is satisfied. Entity. Enough. Pauling sets the document down and waits. Entity. See how the mighty have fallen. Bailey. What do you mean? Entity. Always a stuck-up fool. Ever the adversary, ever the contender, ever the arbiter of truth and righteousness and justice and holy wrath. And look at him now, a fool, a traitor, and a deserter himself. A shell of his former glory. The entity's voice drips with acerbic score. Entity. He thought himself worthy, but he was no better than us. He too has fled from the light. Pauling. How do you know Argos? Silence. Pauling. Hello? There is no reply. Pauling. Well, I've upheld my end of the deal. May I go? No response. There is only breathing. Pauling. Hello? Silence for another 30 seconds. Entity. Do you want to know why you are still alive, Bailey? The light flickers dangerously around Pauling. Pauling. Why? Entity. You remain alive because you fascinate me. Pauling is unsure how to respond. He sits in discomfort for several seconds, listening to the flickering of the lights and the entity's rasping breaths. Pauling. Well, why? Why do I fascinate you? Breaking its calm facade, the entity begins to laugh, its voice, again, punctuated by coughing and wheezing. Entity. Is it not obvious? Pauling. Sorry. No. Entity. You serve the man in white. Pauling. Who is he? Entity. Oh, no! The entity laughs again. Overhead, the lights glister dangerously, sending a shower of sparks down on Pauling below. Entity. Oh, no, no, no. You do not get to say that. Pauling. Why not? Entity. Do not lie to me, Bailey. I know. Pauling. I don't even know who he... The entity laughs again. Entity. You have already seen something. Something you are not supposed to see. Silently, Pauling reaches a trembling hand down towards his pistol in his holster. Pauling. But, I don't know. Entity. Not yet. Maybe. The change is subtle. It is just beginning. You do not yet perceive it. Pauling. What change? Entity. Did you ever think to ask to ask why I wanted you to read the texts? Pauling. No. Entity. What what you have read is of value to me. Yes, but beyond that, I wanted to see the the effect it has had on you. Pauling. What effect? Entity. I had suspicion from the beginning. The curiosity, the innocence, the wonder. And you have surpassed my expectations. So it is true that even even here, even in this wretched realm, some have been chosen. The flickering is intensifying, and the disorientation on the video feed worsens substantially. Pauling is struggling to undo the latch of the holster with his fingers. Entity. Why else have you returned? Even now you you are waiting, watching, hoping against all hope that he will come. That he will rescue you from me. You leap into the den of the wolf, that the shepherd may hear your cry. Pauling has abandoned all pretense of composure. He tugs wildly at his belt, clawing at the latch of the holster in a blind, feral panic. Entity. But the shepherd does not hear. He will not come, and the wolf shall tear you limb from limb. With a final, desperate pull, Pauling finally wrenches the pistol free and fires 3 rounds right into the body of the radio set. When the sound persists, he empties the entire magazine. It does not work. Though the radio lies demolished on the floor, the entity's voice continues to blast, shrill and raw, through what remains of the speaker. Shaking with fear, Pauling backs away into the corner of the room. Entity. No. No. It is decided. I shall not kill you. No. My fire has blighted 10,000, and my fist has slaughtered 100,000. I have drunk of boiling flesh, and yet I am not satisfied. No. I shall break your soul. Pauling drops the pistol, clutching his head as waves of agony blast through his brain. Innumerable glyphs flash across the screen of the video feed. Visual of the room is entirely obscured. Audio can barely be heard through the deafening static interference. Entity. Feel as I feel. Burn as I burn. Suffer as I have suffered. Pauling. I'm not afraid of you. Entity. Oh, but you are, and so was Judah. Do you know what he said to me before he died, as I dragged his spirit, kicking and screaming, into the burning abyss? Pauling kneels over, collapsing on the floor and gasping in excruciating pain. Pauling, stop, please! Entity, he blames you, Bailey. You think that by coming back, by confronting me, you can atone for what you have done. Pauling, this isn't my fault. You killed him. Entity, you opened the gate, and I have come in for the slaughter. His blood is on your hands. You may tell yourself that this was important, that it was fate. Finally, you were part of something grand, something glorious. Pauling, no, no, no! Entity, you wanted the glory. You wanted to hear the praise of the people around you, telling you that you had finally done something useful, something that proved your worth. Pauling, no, please, stop. Entity, did you think yourself noble? Did you think yourself wise? No, you are no better than the rest of us, and we shall burn together. The entity abruptly stops mid-sentence. All at once, the audio-visual distortion ceases, as does the flickering of the lights. The room is suddenly blanketed by a blissful, potent silence. Entity, he is here. The entity's voice is shaky, the oppressive fury in its tone vanishing altogether. Its breathing has become quick and shallow, furtive and tense. Pauling uncurls from his fetal position and sits up, looking round the room. Though it is empty, the atmosphere has suddenly changed completely. Note, from this point forward, Pauling purported hearing an unidentified voice speaking. The voice was not detected on the audio feed, nor has its source been ascertained. The veracity of Pauling's claim is uncertain. Transcriptions of the voice which follow have been made by Pauling himself, to the best of his recollections. Voice, it is I. Entity, Master. The entity's words are filled with abject terror. Its coughing and hacking intensifies. Entity, Master, have mercy on me. There is no response. Entity, have mercy, Master. Master, I am in agony in this flame. There is no reply. Entity, Master, have you nothing to say to me? Still, there is silence. Entity, why have you come, Master? Are you only here to torment me before the time? Master! Finally, the voice speaks. Voice, have I any pleasure in the death of the wicked, and not rather that he should turn from his way and live? Entity, Master, please! Voice, but because of the unfaithfulness and wickedness of your ways, you are dead. Entity, no! No! Voice, this is your end. This is my judgment against you, my punishment for all the detestable things that you have done. Entity, no! I beg of you, Master! Master! Devoid of all power, the entity's shrieks of rage carry all the force of a pathetic, screaming child. Voice, I will not have compassion for you, or feel sorry for you. I will pay you back for all the detestable things you have done, which you continue to do, for by my wrath you know that it is I, who will by no means leave the guilty unpunished. Entity, no! Have mercy! Have mercy! The entity continues to scream and beg, but to no avail. Entity, you! Master! You have done this to me. Voice. Is there injustice with me? Your blood is upon your own head. Entity. My agony is your doing. You have you have made me like this. Voice. Shall what is formed say to him who formed it, why did you make me like this? Entity. No, master, please. Voice. Your condemnation is just. Entity. Have mercy. Have mercy. Voice. I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. Entity. Mercy! Mercy! Voice. I will not have compassion on you, but I raised you up for this very purpose, that I might display my power to you, and that my name might be proclaimed. Entity. No! Mercy! Master! Mercy! Mercy! Voice. You unclean spirit, I command you, depart. Never torment them again. Entity. No! No! Voice. The shepherd defends his sheep. None shall snatch them from my hand. Pauling hears a whisper in his ear, as if the voice has turned now to address him personally. He spins around, but whoever has spoken, he still cannot see. Voice. Look, I am coming soon. Entity. Master! Voice. Find me, Bailey. With the final cry, the voice now thunders across the room, sending tremors into the floor and throughout the building. Voice. Depart from me, you worker of iniquity. Entity. No! 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 A final, ear-splitting blast of static emanates from the radio, and the device explodes. As the room continues to rumble violently, Pauling loses his balance, collapsing onto the ground. He covers his ears, clinging to a nearby table leg for his dear life. The video camera falls onto the floor, and the recording terminates. End recording. Result. Pauling was found alone, unconscious, and completely unharmed in Broadcast Room 2. After full physical and psychiatric evaluations and several days of monitoring, he was discharged with no abnormalities found. The explosion and earthquake could be felt from outside the building and up to several blocks away. Resultant infrastructural damage to the command facility was major, and native Level 11, the city that never sleeps, baselings required several weeks to repair the damage. Less than 24 hours after the event, several high-profile personnel involved in research into the entity suffered major mental breakdowns and were admitted into psychiatric care. This included Project Head Dr. Joseph E. Blunt, who was found stark naked and screaming in his private quarters on Megaflora's newly established research outpost, drawing nonsensical symbols on the walls in his own blood. Part 4. Solar Flare Event. Image caption. Zoomed-in photographs taken by drone Reloth 12 of the solar flares. The photographs were taken 3 days before the devastating CME. On date 5/1/2021, footage from surveillance drone satellites Tori 5, Vega 7, and Reloth 12 displayed abnormally powerful solar flares erupting on the surface of the sun. This appeared to coincide with the quote-unquote explosion event at the end of the final transmission. As flares are a common occurrence in ordinary stars, the significance of the event was not recognized until 8 days later, when a devastating coronal mass ejection, CME, slammed into Megaflora's surface, obliterating almost all surveillance equipment and instantly killing all personnel within the level. Part 4.1. Cause and Immediate Aftermath. Image caption. Image captured from Cam 10, moments before the catastrophic solar flare decimates the surface of Megaflora. Researchers speculate that the entity's intense aggression towards the end of the final transmission induced the increased magnetic activity within the interior of the star. This exerted unnatural stress on the tangled solar arcades, precipitating magnetic reconnection and releasing the observed solar flares. Alongside the solar flares, powerful CMEs were also produced, ejections of massive quantities of radioactive particles and electromagnetic energy into the void, one of which collided directly into megaflora. Though the tree is able to withstand sigma radiation, it is not impervious to all electromagnetic emissions. The tree's unusually low atmosphere, averaging about 200 meters or 650 feet from its surface, provides minimal atmospheric shielding. As a result, the solar ejecta effectively enveloped one face of the tree's surface, causing widespread devastation across its exterior, comparable to the simultaneous detonation of several hundred thermonuclear bombs. Part 4.2 Loss of Personnel. 2 months prior to the solar flare event, permanent Meg research outpost Biosphere had been completed on Megaflora, housing a total of 72 Meg and BPC personnel. The incoming CME was detected only 10 minutes before impact, and evacuation of outpost Biosphere commenced immediately. However, less than 2 minutes after evacuation orders, 58 of the 72 deployed personnel found themselves instantaneously and involuntarily transported into Level 4, Abandoned Office, without explanation. It is not known what or who rescued these personnel from the impending calamity. All of the remaining 14 personnel within Megaflora occupied high-profile research and leadership positions within the Meg, and included all members of Sigma-257's Supervising Committee, apart from auxiliary researcher Sada. Of these 14 personnel, none are known to have survived. Following months of search efforts, only one of the 14 bodies was recovered. Much of the remains were severely irradiated and charred beyond recognition, requiring DNA analysis for identification. Autopsies indicated that the victims suffered 4th-degree burns, which would have resulted in instant death, with a minimum absorbed radiation dose of around 10,000 gray. Missing personnel likely received even larger doses, and were possibly vaporized by heat or exposure to Sigma radiation. The defunct Project Sigma-257 has been known for its exceptionally high casualty rate. Apart from the major incidents documented above, countless personnel were lost to local wildlife, accidental exposure to Sigma radiation, and other factors. The following list remembers not only the 14 personnel who died in the solar flare event, but all those who lost their lives in the Sigma-257 project. Open operative list. In honor of your sacrifice for the sake of courageous exploration, scientific research, and, above all, the betterment of humanity, James Jim Seeley, Andrew D. Thomas, Bei Chun Bing Michael, Sebastian Emmett, Harlan Abbott, Edward Otto, Digimon Obasanjo, John Briggs, Gerald J. Bryce, Hazel Ela, Ileana Catherine, Nico Ryland, Valeria Kalani, June Molly, Lionel Gareth Clayton, Graham Carter, Ramadhani Akpabio, Dawson Apollo, Kellen McCrosby, Muhammad Ishmael, Magnolia Catalina, Finley Ariel, Noel Elani, Annabelle Sage, Anders the Tank Cannon, Sebastian Merrick, Lauren Margett, Hassani Onjo, Camila Jane, Margaret Jane Fiona, Avi Leffy, Adriana Juliet, Kiara Gracelyn, Gina Lee Evelyn, Lyle Bishop, Damian Tudor, Easton John, Shepard Novak, Octavia Blair, Adrian Bennings, Hazley Onyx, Greta Golding, Desmond Elliott, Franklin Gray, Haystup Howie, Roland J. Jasper, Sean Nelson, Dwayne E. Stone, Adrian F. Caraway, Judah Reinhardt, Warren Fox, Richard Jeremiah, Louis Maynard, Silas Atticus, Lawson Mayer, Ivan Hayden, Alvin Grant, Idris Mato, Alistair Nguyen, Declan Mason, Carter Wells, Cecil Eden, Amir Miguel Osman, Joseph E. Blunt. You will be dearly missed. Meg, Bettering Humanity. Part 4.3, Loss of Assets. In addition to the loss of personnel, the solar flare event resulted in the complete destruction of Meg Research Outpost Biosphere. Invaluable BPC research documents on megaflora and wildlife and extremely expensive Meg drone satellite prototypes contained within were lost. Much of the research supplies in Outpost Biosphere were obtained with difficulty from locations such as Level 3.1 and Level 420, and included state-of-the-art scientific instruments. The total financial loss is estimated at approximately 20 million BSC. Footnote: the BNTG Standard Credit, BSC, is an experimental currency recently unveiled for trial by the BNTG for the purpose of streamlining its economic systems. At the time of writing, barter trade remains the dominant financial system, and the BSC is only considered valid in major MEG/BNTG affiliated communities. The value of 1 BSC is, at time of writing, approximately equivalent to 1.28 USD. End footnote. Although none of the surveillance cameras survived the event, several remote drone satellites had been launched into the void. Following the success of Arcturus 3, many remain functional within the level and are still in service, continually monitoring the entity for further solar activity. Drone designation: Polaris 1. Status: launch failure. Refer to flight_experiment_01.txt. Drone designation: Leo 2. Status: launch failure. Refer to flight_experiment_03.txt. Drone designation: Arcturus 3. Status: launch status not recovered. Higher clearance required. Note: view the YouTube video The Beatles Here Comes the Sun 2019 mix by The Beatles. Drone designation: Orion 4. Status: active. Drone designation: Tauri 5. Status: active. Drone designation: Centauri 6. Status: destroyed by CME. Drone designation: Vega 7. Status: destroyed by CME. Drone designation: Gemini 8. Status: active. Drone designation: Hercules 9. Status: destroyed by CME. Drone designation: Alderon 10. Status: destroyed by CME. Drone designation: Bespin 11. Status: active. Drone designation: Ryloth 12. Status: active. Drone designation: Malachor 13. Status: destroyed by CME. Drone designation: Yavin 14. Status: active. Drone designation: Felucia 15. Status: destroyed by CME. Drone designation: Camino 16. Status: destroyed by CME. Drone designation: Eridanus 17. Status: destroyed by CME. Drone designation: Sanghelios 18. Status: active. Drone designation: Jared 19. Status: destroyed by CME days before launch. Drone designation: Urdak 20. Status: destroyed by CME, never deployed. Drone designation: Nick Ravol 21. Status: higher clearance required. Note: see the YouTube video The Beatles Here Comes the Sun 2019 mix by The Beatles. Part 4.4, Additional Effects. Despite the extent of destruction sustained, the level's ecosystem regenerated astoundingly quickly after the event. As little as 10 hours following the CME, retrieval teams noted that flora was beginning to regrow. Fauna such as deer, squirrels, and boars were also observed, though it is not known how they managed to survive. Approximately 9 days after initial flare observation, an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, radiated across the surface of Level 11, the city that never sleeps, causing the temporary failure of electronic systems within Meg Base Beta. The origin of the EMP could not be determined. and it is not known if the occurrence is correlated with the solar flare. With respect to the sun itself, findings suggest that the entity has entered a quote-unquote dormant state following the flare emissions. Footage from surviving drones indicates that the entity seemed to have shrunk extranormally following the loss of coronal mass. Quantities of measurable radiation, i.e., excluding sigma radiation, have permanently dipped since initial flare observation. It is not known how long the sun will remain in this state. Regardless, the MEG will conduct no further research into the sun over the void. Emergency Directive Sigma-257-9. Date 6/10/2021. This is Auxiliary Researcher Sada. Following Oversight Council discussion, and as the last surviving member of the project's supervising committee, I hereby announce the immediate termination of Project Sigma-257. Furthermore, until further notice is given, the MEG strictly prohibits all manned exploration of Level 227, Megaflora. On behalf of leadership, I would like to apologize for the outcome of this project. I am fully aware that under certain members of the supervising committee, who are no longer with us, working conditions were suboptimal. I have spoken to the Oversight Council, and they have agreed to discuss measures to prevent such negligence from occurring again. Despite the circumstances, I am well aware of the breakthroughs with many of our findings. I know there's been a lot of work going into this, and that some of us may be disappointed at the project's termination. But, looking at the casualty count, we cannot simply in good conscience let this continue. We've all seen what that thing is capable of. Some things just aren't meant for us to know. And, based on what we've heard, some things are best left damn well alone. Sada, Meg, Bettering Humanity,